Hey there, welcome to Dr. Brown, or introduce Dr. Brown, is because of a product that he launched called, and I always screw this up, Atrantil.
Atrantil. My belly's better.
Oh, okay.
My belly's better. Atrantil.
Where'd you get the name, by the way?
Oh, you know what? First of all, honored to be talking to a fellow doctor on a show here. So.
Mine's more of an honorary title. You know, I'm a doctor of aromatherapy. That's a whole different thing, though. And I'm guessing my degree costs a lot less than yours. Mine was $9.
$9.
Yeah, I mean, I opted for the gold standard plan. You know, I didn't. But anyway, so how did you get started? How'd you get the name?
So I'm the developer of this product called Atrantil, and it's my first real startup that we did, and it's very interesting because when you start out, you have to come up with a name so you can trademark it.
It's tricky.
Oh my goodness! Guess what? If you're in the health and wellness sector, pharmaceutical companies have whole divisions where they trademark thousands of names
that they may never use.
But they will be trademark bullies if you get close to it. So we were trying to figure out what to do. We had to make up a name, and I work at Preston Crossing Endoscopy Center where we have a lot of employees, have a lot of nurses, probably 20 or 30 nurses. And I just put up blank pieces of paper and Sharpies on the hallways and the walls. I said, if you guys think of anything,
write it down.
Just write it down.
Doesn't matter if it makes sense.
Doesn't matter if it makes sense or anything. So we essentially did this impromptu word lab.
Which, by the way, that is a standard brainstorming session. That's what they do. They don't judge, just write. Just let it all flow, pour it on the paper, go back later and look at it and see. That's smart.
Yeah, but be careful because I tried that once also. And they're like, you're a freak. You know that? Like, I let it all out. But I'm like, come on.
A lot of dirty pictures drawn. You just got to kind of wade through that. Yeah. So you wrote it all down. It's kind of a lab.
So we have everything out there. It's a word lab, and we were coming up with these different names. And when you realize that the drug companies have trademarked so many names, it's so hard to figure it out. So the winner was Atrantil.
Okay.
It'll make you feel tranquil.
Okay.
Like if you look at how some of these other, how some of the pharmaceutical industry has done it, you've heard of a drug called Ambien?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's Ambien in Spanish. That's good morning. That's how they came up with that one. So it's Ambien, so I have to make it up. And then now you see these commercials where they have the weirdest names, Zeljans.
Yeah.
Lots of X's, lots of Z's, because other companies have not trademarked it.
Oh, gotcha.
So we get to the 11th hour. We have everything going that this is going to be called Atrantil. It's going to make you feel tranquil in your gut, And then all of a sudden our lawyer called up and said, hey, we found one that's a little bit like this from a big company. They're known as trademark bullies. And he goes, but if you put an A on it, you're going to be fine. So ultimately that became our brand, A.
You could have just as easily been Tranquilla,
Trantilla. Yeah, we would have added an A in the end. Yeah.
Oh, even at the beginning.
Yeah. So anyway, you cut it. The way that we view it, we're unlike anything else out there. It's not a probiotic or a digestive enzyme. It works completely different. And so rather than sit there and run away from a name that maybe some people mispronounce occasionally,
just own it.
Just own it, because people mispronounce Xerox and Kleenex and all these name brands.
That's it. Google all of them. No one knew what they were.
No one knew what those were. And so that's kind of how I view that we're going to be. We're going to be the first in class when somebody has maybe, 20 years from now, when somebody says, oh, hand me an Atrantil, and it could be a totally different brand, but we're going to be the staple of that.
It's really difficult, even if it's not from a branding standpoint from a pharmaceutical. In today's world, you have to have the social media accounts and the .com and all this stuff. And so you can cheat it a little bit by doing .net or whatever, but there's a lot of the stuff that's taken. So, for example, we've come up with products, and even Spoony.com and Mojo 50, our sister station. We knew, Chef Patrick and I, when we started brainstorming this a couple of years ago, okay, what can we call it? Okay, so we started looking online for the .com, and what happens? It's all taken. Okay, you can buy it for $25,000 if you want something. And we stumbled upon, I told Patrick, I go, somebody is selling, there's an auction up for Spoony.com. And normally something that's, a part of a word, under 6 letters, 6 or under, it's going to cost you $10,000. And I saw they were auctioning it off, and the bid was like $700. $800 something. I was like, I don't want to pay anything, but I got to have a good name for this. So I put a bid in, and it stayed for like 2 days as it was counting down. And I get down to the final minutes, and this is normally where it goes down with the auctions. Everyone starts, every second it just ratchets up. And I'm watching, it gets about a minute out. Here it comes. Someone bidded it up $50 or something. And I'm like, okay, I'll stand by. I'll outbid them one time. Let's see. Nobody else bid on it.
Huh.
So it was, I think it was around, was it $800-900 total? Something
Yeah,
like that?
but do you want to tell them the real story? So we came up with a name, but Forky was too racy, so we had to go with
Forky was
Spoony.
too racy. So.
Forky was too racy.
So Mojo 50, our sister station, we needed something that, didn't scream, that was so standard, right wing, whatever, that was, a little more libertarian. Mojo.com is taken. Everything's taken. So I was like, all right, let's put a 50 on it. It rhymes.
Yeah.
Done. So everyone's like, what's the I don't know. It just is. It was cheap. That one I got for $9. So.
See, you can totally appreciate this.
I can. I love it.
The
I think
name
it's great.
is, and then ultimately the name ends up being a story. So
Yeah.
Spoony's a story. You got it at a bargain.
And there it is. So, and when you design a package like this for something, I mean, there's all kinds of people involved, right? Do you have people that test colors or marketers or?
Well, I will be totally honest. When we initially launched, we had, we thought about doing all that, but much like you guys, you do a lot of
Trust
the stuff
yourself.
yourself because number one, I raised a little bit of money with some colleagues, and I'm not going to spend their money where I feel like we can do it. So almost everything you see was done by us.
The logo is great. I love the A with the leaf.
With the little leaf.
Yeah. And I mean, that's it tells you a little bit about the product too, right?
Yeah, natural, and so we have that in there, and so that's our logo, and the name a little hard to say, but Atrantil. So we've embraced it, and we've got. I think you've seen my colleague Eric walking around. Now all our T-shirts phonetically tell you how to say it.
I had to write it down that way too, and I still say "oh" as opposed to "ah." But then you get lovemytummy.com, so it's easier to market to.
Yeah, so we ended up getting lovemytummy.com. Certainly, lovemytummy.com is our landing page for shows like this so that we can help promote you as well. So that
it's easy too. It's just easier to try to tell and people can remember because they're going to go back. And we have a client on called Minnestalgia, and it's a natural wild rice from Minnesota. And it's like Minnesota and nostalgia. Try to figure it out. I mean, I can't even spell Minnesota. And so they just go SpoonyWildRice.com.
Oh, yes. That's
Which
perfect.
is so, and it's indicative of the station. So you can even see if people are, from a business standpoint, if people are coming in from certain platforms, and it makes it easy for you, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So when did you launch?
We launched about 3 years ago. We're right at about 3 years.
Okay. And it takes years and years to get some of this stuff out there, to get the following.
Well, we, fortunately, since it is backed in science.
Right.
We kind of a funny story. One of my patients was suffering. So one of the people that we had actually done in my clinical trial was part of a forum. So we were kind of like a very soft launch. And then she went on this forum and said, "Oh my gosh, I was part of this trial. This worked for me." And like we didn't have our distribution set up yet or anything. So we had employees. I mean, there was only 4 of us. Packaging things ourselves, driving to FedEx,
that is so great.
And so we kind of got shot out with a little faster than we would have liked.
Yeah.
And then we got we kind of hit the ground running. We got our legs behind us, and now we're really growing rapidly because it's just a matter of getting out there. It's just like you guys. I mean, you offer great content. People just need to find you. That's all it is.
Well, and that's one of the things that we've focused on both our platforms, and I've done this really for years now. It's easier than ever to start a business, not necessarily, something that's a supplement or health related, but, everyone could sell flapjacks online or anything, but it's harder than ever to break through and get the attention. And if you're a social media influencer or something, you already have the audience, it's not that difficult, but most of us do not. So while it's easier than ever to start, it's more difficult to get attention. So that's the reason we offer free commercials. We do our Building America segments. If I can help you out, help somebody grow and break through, good for you. I'm happy to, Some people end up seeing the value of what we're doing beyond that. They become clients. That helps too. But we always focus on helping people.
Yeah. And they, and this comes down with the whole Spoony concept. I was talking to Patrick earlier about, restaurants I tell my staff, like for instance, on how many different ways a business can fail just by putting the wrong people on the wrong seat on the bus. You can have a great idea. You can have everything. And, a startup can fail. I tell my office staff, so I still am a practicing gastroenterologist, and I tell them, I said,
in the Dallas area.
Yeah. So my office is in Plano. I'm part of a large group called Digestive Health Associates of Texas. I think one of my friends, Dr. Jay Yapuri, is the medical director of another product called Riduzone for weight loss.
And that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Dr. J, I forget.
Yeah,
And Riduzone's a great product.
So Jay and I are part of the same group, and I tell my staff that I said, look, if you go to a restaurant and it's hard to make a reservation, you arrive, the hostess doesn't treat you nice or is not attentive, you sit down and the waiter is screwing up your order. If you've got Nobu Matsahitsu, right? Is that his name? Nobu Matsahitsu. Yeah. If he's in the kitchen, it doesn't matter because your experience has been changed. So even with any other business, and this is how I approach this also, ultimately, Atrantil is here to help people. That's our end goal. Yes, we need to have we need to make some money so that we can pay salaries and stuff. But then again, that grows the economy and that helps. So I tell my staff, I think of it that way. If you go to a restaurant, if the customer service is not all the way through, it doesn't matter who's doing your colonoscopy if you already have a bad taste in your mouth.
Done.
So I'm very proud of my employees have been with me a long time. That trying to at least do the best is the key. As long as we see the effort there. So you've hit on so many different things on how hard it is to do a startup. Because not only do you have to have a great concept, you have to get it off, then you have to get exposure, but then you got to make sure that everybody that you've surrounded yourself with is the right team. And there's
more ways to fail than succeed, really. Yeah. I mean, it is. And I mean, that becomes overwhelming. You can't focus on that. I think most of the time, if you prioritize, and that's tricky to do too, and people see progress, the audience, whether it's an audience for a product or an audience like us, they're fairly forgiving if they know that you're genuine, which comes down to something that a lot of people are missing in the world. Genuine, real, honest, transparent. These are the watchwords of the future, especially the younger generations.
Definitely. I think that there is so much skepticism. Everybody's been hustled for so long.
All right. I had a guy scam me out of $20 a couple of weeks ago. Downtown.
That's actually one of our biggest hurdles with Atrantil. People go, oh, I've tried so many other things. I've tried 6 different probiotics. I've tried this. This is just another thing. That's been one of our biggest hurdles because I'm like, no, you've never tried anything like this.
Because this is not a pharmaceutical.
It's not a pharmaceutical. It's over the counter, but it's also not a digestive enzyme, not a probiotic, not like anything else that's there.
It's new tech.
Yeah, and so I love being on a show called Spoony because the reality is the molecules are food substances called polyphenols. And we're using these polyphenols to help your body in a totally different way. So if we can just get people to realize that, oh, it does have a 100% money back guarantee, I can get on there and it is totally different, give it a shot, and 4 out of 5 people are going to get better if you suffer from the symptoms.
What's so funny too is, you're right, products like that are new that people haven't seen that's different, there's a healthy and understandable skepticism. But at the same time, these are people, I talk to enough people, I understand that they also know we got to do some things different. I mean, listen, traditional medicine, pharmaceuticals, they have their place. Very effective. They work great. Not always the best. There's also, ounce of prevention versus a pound of cure. And then also other options. I guess that's the way I'll say it. Other options.
Other options.
Right. That everybody knows that. Whether it's even if it's things like yoga or whatever, as far as being healthy, people know these things work. They know traditional medicine is not everything. It's a good part of it, but it's not everything. So they're willing to try.
Yeah. So if I could sit there and if I had my 3 pillars of health, it would be number 1, gut. Obviously, I might be a little bit biased being a butt doctor and all that. Yeah. But number 1, gut. And the reason why is because there is a lot of evidence now that inflammation starts in the gut. In other words, if you have a poor diet, if you have an infection in there like SIBO, bacterial overgrowth, or if you have a sensitivity to gluten, which produces a molecule called zonulin, which is a little complex, but what it does is it creates impermeability or leaky gut. So if that happens, you start the inflammatory process. So I'm going to fix your gut is 1 pillar. The second one is we have to protect your brain because if you're not of right mind, meaning if you're anxious, if you're having trouble sleeping, if you have a tendency for depression, a lot of times we can fix that through the gut. And then the last one, which is completely, I think people miss it because they're always trying to do more, and especially if you're doing a startup. And I have to remind myself, sleep, sleep, sleep.
Interesting.
Proper sleep, sleep hygiene. If I can get those 3 things, then you're going to feel better. And that's what I try and get my patients to do. I said, one way that we're going to heal your gut, well, a few key supplements, but diet. Spoony, you know, helping people, teaching people, you and Patrick teaching people that a low inflammatory diet is going to play a key role in starting the whole process.
It's funny, a lot of people that eat healthy, let's say, quote unquote, eat healthy, they get it. They say, okay, obviously garbage in, garbage out. I want to eat healthy. I want to get all those vitamins, nutrients, whatever. But if you're having a failure that maybe even you don't know about, or you're not operating as properly as you should in your digestive tract, doesn't matter.
Yeah, and it's funny because even if you think you're eating healthy, sometimes you may not be eating as healthy as you want. And then if you talk about what is healthy, so I go on several different podcasts where people are big keto people, or they're big fasting people, or this person's a paleo person, this person's an SCD. There's all these diets out there.
Yeah.
And people are very passionate about it because that's what helped them. But that may not be the diet that fits you. A great example is me. And I mean, this is complete disclosure. I like to try things on myself.
Okay,
and then,
that's good.
And then I have my experience about what actually happened.
Firsthand, that makes sense. Yeah.
So like keto diet. Everybody talks about the keto diet where you eat 80% fat and then 10% protein.
And you've got to be very careful with that. To go into the ketosis. That can be dangerous. You got to be careful with that.
Well, this is really funny because I kind of half did it. I did like keto when it was convenient for me.
Okay, that's going to be trouble for you, right?
And then, I'm married to a Puerto Rican, so when I come home, there's beans and rice at night.
Oh, sorry. Keto out the window.
Keto out the window. And I went to my doctor, who's a functional medicine practitioner, and he called me up. He goes, "What have you been doing?" I'm like, "Why? What's wrong?" I was feeling great. He's just like, "Your cholesterol jumped up. You did this." And I went, "Oh, you got to really commit to it. You can't play this, what I'm going to call dirty keto, which is like keto when I want and not at night." And so I went back to the diet that works better for me, which is more of a paleo style or just pretty much gluten-free. And so that one works with my body.
And that's what I did. My wife and I, about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we were on the paleo, and we were doing the whole 30 version of it. We do 30 days, and we just stayed on it for about 3 months. I realized at that point I should have transitioned a little bit more and gotten more grains and stuff back in. And we ended up getting off of it quickly because we had a death in the family and travel and all this weird stuff. But during that time, I really saw the value of it. Like I said, I think I needed more starch. Don't fear the carbs of that at that point. So that's what I've just started working on recently in the last month or so. I'm like, okay, this is and I have got to get rid of the sugars. I mean, that's the other killer for me. So
the other big thing is that a great life hack, which we can talk about in some future episode because there's a lot of science behind it, is the hack of fasting. Actually just not eating.
That is fantastic.
An amazing thing for your body. And so I got really into the whole fasting thing. I went on the intermittent fasting podcast with Melanie Avalon. If you can go check out her podcast. I had a real fun time with her talking about intermittent fasting. But what I discovered preparing for that podcast is that polyphenols and Atrantil are a fasting mimetic molecule. In other words, it actually creates some of the same changes in your body, so it augments the fast. So there is a 5-day fast called the fasting mimicking diet, and we've teamed up with them because I made my whole company do a 5-day fast.
That's cool.
On the fasting mimicking diet, and we added Atrantil to it, and everybody checked their ketones and all that, and that is a cellular reset. That's like that just kind of resets your whole body at a cellular level, the mitochondria and everything. It's a really, really cool science, but it's so fascinating that I developed this for a disease process, and as I meet more and more scientists, they'll call me up. They'll be like, "Hey, I read your paper on this." He goes, my thesis was on polyphenols and how it looks like fasting. I'm like, holy cow, tell me about that.
Yeah.
And we'll be publishing when I get some breathing room, I'm always like, one day we're going to write about this. One day we're going to write about it.
As soon as I have time.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so that's what we learned for that. And then the other really cool thing is that when you eat right and you take these molecules, polyphenols, you've heard people talk about probiotics. You've heard that term?
Right. There's also prebiotics.
Prebiotics. Well, I'm going to throw a curveball at you. The newest concept is postbiotics.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And that is when your bacteria break down certain foods. So like if you eat veggies and there are undigested fibers that get in there, if you have good microbiome or the bacteria that live in your body, they'll break them down. And now scientists are discovering that they produce molecules that actually tell your aging and sick cells to die. The actual molecule is called urolithin. And now they're labeling that, okay, well, that is one postbiotic. Oh my goodness. Now that knocked down the door. Now they're finding other ones. Now we have a reason why the Mediterranean diet is an anti-inflammatory neuroprotective diet, because the bacteria break them down and they cross the blood-brain barrier and they just start calming everything down. So the reality is the biggest concept, we're going to see everybody in my field move away from prebiotics, postbiotics, and now we're going to talk about how do we increase prebiotics and probiotics, how do we increase the postbiotics?
Wow. I'm fascinated by this. I love too how it's, so much of this goes back to what we, meaning humans, used to do. At the time, they were just doing it because it was functional. They didn't have all these other options or whatever, like eating healthy garden, and fresh vegetables and stuff and fruits. And now we're realizing, that actually was what we should do.
Wouldn't it be cool to, you could be or Chef Patrick could have have like a test kitchen, making food, serving it to people, and then explaining, okay, so the reason why I put, let's say, this pomegranate sauce in here is because there's an agalic acid, and you could just show the chemistry.
Yeah.
This agalic acid gets converted to urolithin, which makes your old cells go away. So
this is amazing.
This sauce on this chicken that you're eating is actually making you younger.
Right, and it works together with the...
Works together. Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be amazing. I'll tell you, that fascinates me because I've noticed too, when I ran regularly and I was eating very healthy and just, doing basic, not even anything spectacular, just basic good nutrition and health, I would go into the supermarket and I didn't crave stuff that you crave, the Pop-Tarts and stuff. I craved things that I didn't even like. I was like, rutabaga. Oh, that'd be great. I don't like those. But I see them and I'm like, that's what I want. So you get in tune with your body, right? So what if you're right? You're showing the food and you're like, wow, that's cool.
All right. This is going to kind of freak you out. What if, because you were working out and eating better, you were feeding the bacteria that were telling you to eat that? Now, when you eat like crap, your bacteria proliferate and they like that. They're sending signals saying, oh, look, we need some more sugar.
Oh,
so it could very well be that you're not even in control.
Yep, that's what I think.
Your bacteria are telling you what to do.
That's what I think most Americans are living with now. I lived that. I saw that, and I knew, and okay, got it. But I think the first step is obviously taking control, and Atrantil is obviously going to help you out.
that's one of the things that we have seen. We have seen stool diversity increase by taking these polyphenols. So maybe
It's fascinating. We have, by people listening to Spoony, have seen stool diversity increase.
Oh, really?
But that's mainly just from Chef Patrick. All right, go to lovemytummy.com. Please try Atrantil. We'll tell you more about it. And let's work together, doctor, on some of this stuff. That'd be really cool show stuff as well.
lovemytummy.com /Spoony.
Gotcha. Lovemytummy.com /Spoony. And I'll tell you about the great deal as soon as we get a quick break in here as well. It's Doc Thompson along with Dr. Kenneth Brown, Doc's House of Flapjacks.
Awesome.
Never forgot dating today with all the crazies out there has to be nuts.
Yes, it really would. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a place you